The recent test firing of the Pralay surface-to-surface ballistic missile and its placement on the final list compiled by the Defense Acquisition Council (DAC) has contributed to an increase in the likelihood of forming an integrated rocket force (IRF). When constructed, the force will fulfill two requirements: demonstrate India's ability to wage non-contact war and establish an effective deterrent via denial against China along the line of actual control (LAC). Army Chief of Staff General Manoj Pandey said the unpredictable situation in the northern frontiers is stable and under control. The Army Chief was referring to the aggressive deployment of the Chinese People's Liberation Army (PLA) and the Indian Army along the line of actual control (LAC) in eastern Ladakh. Along the 3,400-kilometer line of actual control (LAC), India faces a dual challenge: develop options for deterrence through denial operations against the People's Liberation Army (PLA) without using stronger conventional forces and keep the fight localized. The second objective is to have sufficient long-range combat weapons that can be utilized to create localized asymmetry. A combined rocket force (CRF) provides both of these functions. The concept of IRF is timely since the Indian armed forces are increasingly aware that the future of warfare will depend on the effective application of non-contact warfare principles in designing any military campaign operations. The force's command and control can be initially vested in a single service, such as the Indian Army, and later made rotational. The basis for assembling a long-range vector force along the lines of the Chinese PLA rocket force must be established. The assertion that there is a non-nuclear operational area between nuclear-armed competitors to conduct warfare has been bolstered as a result of the attacks that took place in Uri and Balakot, as well as the actions that took place at the Kailash range. Such activities have demonstrated that the stability-instability paradox does not hold in India-Pakistan and India-China front. There is currently a window of opportunity for precise surgical attacks to maintain strategic stability. India can conduct war against its foes with missiles, particularly when it comes to shallow strikes against obvious military objectives. Reasons include precision, response speed, and the capacity to elude discovery with minimal loss of human life. In contrast to the deployment of manned aircraft, which, if employed, might be viewed as a step up the escalation ladder, missile attacks can be used to either send a message or gain the upper hand in a localized war due to their accuracy and efficacy. One must also consider the cost-effectiveness of a missile in comparison to a fighter jet. A system of systems platform, an Air Force jet incurs costs for pilot training, EW suites, missiles, radars, and other related technology. The production of airplanes is costly and time-consuming, and only a small number are manufactured each year. Additionally, any increase in the number of aircraft results in an exponential rise in the training expenses and time required for each additional pilot, hence multiplying the marginal costs of training and administration. Therefore, more missiles may be manufactured and deployed with the same expenditure. Even though unmanned aerial vehicles (UAVs) have been demonstrated to offer certain advantages in conflicts, their most effective use has been in the intelligence, surveillance, target acquisition, and reconnaissance domains. Studies have also indicated that using UAVs augments a side's advantage on the battlefield. Drone swarms, expected to alter the game, are still in the experimental phase. There is also the issue of localization. India is confronting difficulties in mass-building fighter aircraft. Advanced Medium Combat Aircraft (AMCA) is still conceptualizing, whereas the Light Combat Aircraft (LCA) program has just begun production. The need for indigenous jet engine technology is the primary challenge. In contrast, India already possesses exceptional experience in producing both conventional and nuclear-tipped missiles. Agni, Prithvi, BrahMos, Akash, Nag, Pradyumna, Pralay, etc. are examples of both medium and long-range missiles manufactured domestically. Pralay is a quasi-ballistic, surface-to-surface missile built on subsystems from various previously tested DRDO missiles, including the Exo-Atmospheric Interceptor Missile (PDV), Prithvi Defense Vehicle, and the Prahar Tactical Missile. The composite fuel originates from the Indian Navy's Sagarika missile family. Pralay can strike in a range between 150 to 500 kilometers, and its recent successful test launches and the introduction of 120 missiles are anticipated to form the core of an Indian IRF. In addition to the supersonic cruise missile BrahMos, this is the only conventional tactical combat missile India is likely to deploy. India must establish a rocket missile force independent from the Strategic Forces Command (SFC) to create conventional deterrence and utilize tactical and operational windows of opportunity. Pralay is anticipated to be one of the primary fulcrums for the yet-to-be-formed force, which can provide the Indian Army with preemptive and reactive options against China and ensure that the nuclear threshold is neither reached nor breached. The missile munitions, which include penetration-cum-blast (PCB) and runway denial penetration submunition (RDPS), as well as high-explosive pre-formed fragmentation warheads, ensure that the Army maintains the flexibility to target hard targets such as communication centers, bunkers, and runways at the operational ranges of up to 500 kilometers. Due to the proximity of the PLA deployments in eastern Ladakh and Arunachal Pradesh, this distance will yield the best results. There are potential command and control structures for a growing IRF in India. As the PLA's design exemplifies, all conventional and nuclear missile forces are centralized inside a single service. Individual services possessing their missile forces is another paradigm. However, this model may not be sustainable when theater commands are established. The third paradigm is integrating missile units into theater commands, with rocket and missile forces grouped as a fourth component. Here, operational command and control will sit with the corresponding service component to support joint operations planning inside the theater command. Depending on the makeup and responsibilities of the theater commands, the relevant missile launch systems may be selected. Personnel from the Corps of Artillery can initially form the core group for conducting realistic initial command and control, operational training, and exercises, which will go a long way toward inculcating skill in long-range precision fires inside the other two services. Included micro and tiny UAVs can function as force multipliers for ISTAR and post-strike damage assessment (PSDA). The PLA used a similar tactic during its maneuvers in the Taiwan Strait. Command and control systems based on artificial intelligence (AI) and machine learning (ML) can successfully match targets to delivery platforms. The Corps of Artillery, which now oversees the deployment and training of the majority of India's missile and rocket systems, is well suited to serve as the nucleus of the new IRF. It has substantial training expertise and has conducted numerous firing tests and deployment exercises with these systems for an extended period. With the cross-pollination of people from the SFC and direction from the Corps of Artillery, the IRF can become India's solution to extending its conventional deterrent posture beyond the artillery's traditional range. In addition to operational command and control, there must be a clear separation between rocket and missile forces' launch platforms. In the fourth vertical, while Army units can staff all ground-based launches, the Indian Air Force (IAF) should have sole control over air-launched vectors. The Indian Navy will be responsible for coastal defense and submarine-launched missiles. This will achieve two goals: maximizing the operational expertise of each service and optimizing operational logistics. Storage capabilities and maintenance, repair, and overhaul MRO issues will be simplified. The traditional view of deterrence strategically combines the three Cs, namely capability, credibility, and communication. Communication requires signaling, particularly to the opponent. There should be no ambiguity regarding the distinction between conventional and nuclear missiles. The SFC was established primarily to operationalize India's massive retribution atomic doctrine. It is crucial that the commissioning of Pralay coincides with establishing IRF as a separate entity from SFC, followed by the transfer of rocket assets into IRF. The Chinese menace along the LAC needs a fundamental shift in India's defensive posture. While a beginning has been made with the deployment of unmanned systems and advanced sensors, the challenge of creating a deterrent threat with two goals remains: create a window of opportunity for undertaking kinetic actions without climbing the escalation ladder, putting the onus of escalation on the other side. and create an indigenous solution that can be scaled up rapidly and is not limited by the foreign policy constraints of any country. The incorporation of Pralay may mark the beginning of an Indian IRF that addresses both of these objectives. Thanks for watching. Like, share, and subscribe.